I, 29F, went out for dinner with husband, 28M, last night. Nothing fancy, just a chain sports bar, and it being a Friday, the place was packed. We sit, place our order, and we're catching up on the day. Everything is going fine. When the waitress brought out our appetizer, my husband grabs about 4 decent-sized tortilla chips and scoops an actual mountain of spinach dip with them and shoved the whole thing in his mouth. And when I say shoved, I mean shoved his fingers in his mouth with the food. By the time I'd had 3 chips with some dip, the entire rest of the appetizer was gone, so I was already irked and embarrassed because of course people were staring at us. I said as much to him, and when he said he didn't see what he was doing wrong, I told him, "You're acting like you've never seen food before. It's embarrassing." He didn't say another word to me after that, and has barely spoke to me today either. I don't think I'm the asshole for telling him I was embarrassed by how he was eating and annoyed that most of the appetizer was eaten by him, but I may have taken it too far with the last comment. For further context, no, this isn't the first time this has happened. I've told him multiple times it's embarrassing when he does this and asked him why so I can try to help or at least understand a bit better. It's only at this specific chain, and his answer always is either ick or that he really loves the spinach dip they have. He also does this at home, but I don't really care when he's at home because I'm not going to dictate how he acts in the privacy of our house. Also to note, because I'm sure people may ask, no, he did not grow up in a food-insecure household. They weren't rich, but not struggling that much. And neither are we struggling now. No, there is no history with an eating disorder either in him or his family. With all that said, edit because people keep asking the same questions, so just for clarity. Yes, I have had the same conversation before with him in much nicer ways and usually in private. He actively knows I hate when he eats like that. Yes, he eats like this at home, but never when there are people over and not when we go to other people's homes. I don't give him shit over it because I'm not gonna police what he does when he's in private. No, I'm not going to divorce him over this. I know in my head this is one of very few things we argue about. Is it annoying? Yes, but it's a wild take to tell me to divorce my husband over it. We continue to go to this place because it's a cheap, convenient option for when he has a super late shift, gets out at 11 or later, because it is 5 minutes from our house and is one of the few places open at that time. No, my husband is not in the military.
Comment 1. I'm not judging either of you, but I want to say I doubt anyone else in the restaurant noticed. Even if you looked up and they were looking your way, they were probably just looking around. They had their own conversations, priorities and insecurities to worry about. If I had to guess, your real issue is how people perceive you, and you feel his behavior is indicative of your own, which could or could not be true based on how you behave. Comment 2. NTA, one of my ex's eating habits got so bad that I couldn't even eat around him anymore, because the experience made me feel sick, ramming food in his face, noisily half chewing it before noisily forcing himself to swallow the half-chewed food while ramming the next bite in. He'd occasionally have to stop to catch his breath, and after he'd inhaled everything, he'd be panting, looking round with crazy eyes, like he desperately needed more food. Calling it out before it gets worse is the right thing to do. Comment 3. I hate that women are expected to be surrogate mummies for these guys, and I hate that we are programmed to be embarrassed by their actions. It's not on you. I would suggest that the more boorish he gets, the more proper and even dainty you get. Multiple napkins on your lap, breaking food into very small pieces, always use utensils, say nothing. Don't give him control by being embarrassed for him. If you want more appetizers, order more. My son is 11 months old and 97th percentile for height. He is a big ash baby, currently 36 inch tall, or about the size of your average 2.5 years old, and in 3T clothing. However, despite him being so big, he is still just a baby and most of his nutrition is still from breast milk. For the 4th we had a big family cookout and my brother invited his girlfriend. I live out of state and I didn't want my flights to be too close together, so I'm staying for a bit longer. My brother and his girlfriend are doing the same thing. My family is aware that my son is a baby, obviously, but my brother's girlfriend was not and was initially very shocked when she saw him misbehaving. We explained that he's still a baby, so he's still just exploring the world. She remained uncomfortable, but we mostly avoid each other. Because he's so big, feeding him is a chore, so I use an armchair as there isn't enough support elsewhere, and so there isn't much I can do about covering up. He gets sweaty under blankets and won't eat. It's been a tense couple of weeks. Last night I think we both kind of lost it. My son needed feeding and she was in the chair. I asked her to move, which she whined about but did get up. Everything was fine for another hour or so until she demanded my brother pay for her to go to a hotel for the remaining nights because she can't cope with me and the baby. He asked what she meant and she said that he's clearly big enough to be on real food and I enjoy making her uncomfortable by feeding him in front of her. I got embarrassingly upset and told her that she should keep her mouth shut because she clearly doesn't know the first thing about parenting and certainly doesn't know anything about me or my son. We argued the same points for a little more until my son woke from his nap and I left to collect him. She then left after telling us all, loudly, that she needs to protect her peace, which is honestly not a phrase I thought real people said. My brother told me I was being immature and left with her. My dad is on my side but did tell me I should have removed myself from the situation as I'm a grown woman and she's still a teenager. I'm 3 years older than her, so I think that's BS. My mom is neutral but is still trying to convince my brother to come home and ended up paying for their hotel. She thinks I could have been a lot more understanding.
Comment 1. I know how you feel. My boys are 6 feet 6 inches and 6 feet 5 inches, respectively. It looked like they should have been able to eat a porterhouse every day. So, I get where you are coming from. Some people are more literal. They see you breastfeeding a love seat, and they just can't cope. Comment 2. I'm going to go with NTA. It sounds like it's a her issue if she was the only who made any fuss about it. To clarify the still a teenager bit, is she still an actual teen or someone is a bit self-centered, or sheltered? Could you have gone to another room like a bedroom? Or is that specific chair the primest of spots? Not that it matters, Imo. She's weird and should have just socked it up. Not sure if she's unaware that above average babies can happen. Comment 3. NTA. If she's uncomfortable because you're breastfeeding, she leaves the room. It's that simple. Her opinions on what your son should eat are stupid and nobody asked for them. Sometimes people are stupid or clumsy, but she was disrespectful. She absolutely must apologize for her unsolicited advice and entitled behavior. Next time she can go straight to the hotel for her peace, but above all for your peace.
So my husband and I recently had a baby. We've been together for over 10 years. We have our own apartment. It's a little small, so we do eventually want to upgrade. My dad lives alone in a 3-bedroom house which is fully paid off. He's semi-retired, retired early and has a really good pension but still works part-time. He's also a narcissistic functioning alcoholic. I have had a long history of issues with him, and if it wasn't for wanting a nicer place for the baby I wouldn't even be considering this. He would love nothing more than to spend his days drinking and watching Netflix, but he has to work a bit still because his pension doesn't cover all his bills. Just 2 months ago he was in the ICU for alcohol poisoning. Anyway, when my baby was born he offered to let us move in so we would have more room and be able to have more money for the baby. He said we would take the top floor and he would have the basement, with a kitchenette and bathroom. He said all he would want from us is to pay the utilities. I thought this was a way of him reaching out for help. If we lived there then he would be able to see us and his grandbaby more often and maybe he wouldn't be so lonely and drink so much. Well, fast forward to now, we discussed it more in depth and he wants to do $30,000 worth of renos to the basement before we move in, which he wants us to pay for in monthly payments once we move in, which, okay, fine, fair enough. Then he says he wants to stop working once we move in and in 2 or 3 years he may decide he wants to do something with his life like travel the world and take out $30, $40K against the house to do so, at which point he would have to start charging us rent, amount unknown, to pay for that loan. Am I nuts or does it sound like he wants us to fund his retirement and drinking? The whole point of us moving in was we would save money. Now we're basically going to be back to paying what we are in rent now, stuck in a house that we have no equity in which he could literally sell at any point. I basically told him off because this is not how he first offered it to us,
and he got pissed off and started screaming at me like he has since I was a kid. As if he offered us this great thing and we just pissed on it. I mean, if I was in his position and my kid was in my position with rent/house prices the way they are, I wouldn't be charging them rent on top of utilities. The house is paid for. It's not like he would be supporting us whatsoever. We would be buying our own groceries, driving our own car, both working FT, etc. Comment 1. NTA. Speaking as someone raised in a home with a drunk, I would have rather shared one tiny room with my mom and siblings than be anywhere near my house growing up. More space is not worth your child's mental health. Is not healthy for anyone to live in that environment, let alone a child. You won't be safe, especially financially, even physically if he drink enough. I learned from experience that an alcoholic will choose his next drink over family. If his money runs out, he is going to take from you and even your child. Me and my siblings had birthday money, babysitting money, etc. stolen by someone that was family. If they don't find money, they will take anything they can resell. Comment 2. NTA. Do not depend on this man for anything. Even if he didn't have his issues, his offer is financially bad for you on its own merit. He can barely take care of himself and clearly wasn't prepared enough for early retirement. Just reiterate that you will stay because you would be paying him as much, if not more, than your rent. Then, end the issue altogether. Your apartment may not be ideal, but you can make it work with a kiddo. Many families do. What would be worse is having to put up with your dad's reckless behavior every day and introducing your child to that. Comment 3. NTA. When an offer is too good to be true, it's because it was made without the disclosure of the strings attached. Your father's offer is untenable. The demands will change and become increasingly unfavorable to your family. You will be spending all sorts of money for no equity in the house. Walk away. You are better off renting and putting aside what you can and waiting for the real estate bubble to burst. So, my fiancé, 24F, and I, 28M, are supposed to get married in 6 months. However, something happened that's made me reconsider, and it's kind of blown up. I got into an argument with my fiancé like a week ago over something pretty trivial, but it ended up getting a bit heated. I tried to keep things calm, but she ended up getting really mad and slapped me in the face. I was kind of shocked for a minute, and then just told her she needed to leave. She refused at first, but then I raised my voice slightly and said, "You need to leave right now." She got some of her things and then went to go stay with her sister. I'm now considering ending things with her after she was physical with me. I honestly couldn't believe she did that. However, I've gotten massive pushback from pretty much everyone around me telling me that ending our relationship and calling off our wedding over that is a massive overreaction. She did apologize, but I told her it doesn't change anything. My family is telling me I'm being crazy to end things over that. My friends are saying I'm massively overreacting. I pointed out that if I had done that to her, she would have almost definitely left me, and would be 100% in the right to do so. They're all saying that's completely different, because I'm significantly taller than her and physically stronger, while there's no chance she could ever physically overpower me. That is true, but I don't think it changes things. I'm being accused of weaponizing therapy language and appropriating the struggles of domestic abuse victims when what happened to me was in no way comparable to what genuine victims go through. I feel like I'm losing my mind and I'm doubting my reasoning now. Comment 1. NTA. Call it off. Everyone is trying to gaslight you. For some reason, so many people still think it's okay for women to be physically abusive to men, but it is never okay. I'm so sorry that happened to you and at the hand of someone that you loved. At the very least, postpone it. I personally would not trust anyone who is telling me that I need to accept being treated that way, so you may need to think about not only cutting contact with your fiancé, but also the people who are telling you that this is okay, because it very much is not, because most of the time abuse escalates over time. Also, if you are planning on having kids, think about what her discipline may look like for them. Comment 2. I'm a woman, and let me tell you, what she did is abuse. She has no right to put her hands on you, and you have every right to leave her. Put it this way, if you don't end it, she will think it's okay to do that again because all your friends/family are on her side, and fuck those assholes too. You don't need anyone in your life telling you a woman hitting you is not that big of a deal. This is why abuse of men isn't being taken seriously, and it's appalling. I hope you make the right choice and leave her nasty ass. Also, I'm so sorry this happened to you. Comment 3. NTA. True, you are the man and stronger than her. That means that if she attacks you, even if you defend yourself by grabbing her arms, she can claim assault and be believed by the cops. That's why physical violence on her part is so serious. You have literally no defense. Moreover, she didn't apologize at once. On the contrary, when you told her to leave, she refused. So it isn't a case of an impulse she regretted. She saw nothing wrong with it till you called off the wedding. I think you are right to end the relationship.